coming up on this week's programme. It's been another challenging year for travel, but that hasn't stopped us from doing what we love best.
Hello and welcome to the Travel Show with me, Rajan Datar. Well, there's no denying that 2021 will not go down as a great year for travel. Hotels, airlines, tour operators and all of us that wanted to get away have had to cope with ever-changing rules and restrictions to do what we simply took for granted 2 years ago before the pandemic struck. So this week on the show, we're looking back at 2021 and some of our favourite stories of the year. And it was a year when many of us started changing the way we think about travel.
In a moment, we've got a report from Mike in Kenya about how the pandemic meant that many Kenyans can now afford to take a safari holiday for the very first time.
First up though, sustainability was a big topic this year, and that's why back in August I took a voyage on a ship that's hoping to change the way that some cruise passengers travel.
The Golden Horizon weighs a whopping 8,770 tonnes and took 5 years to be built in Croatia. It's taking me on a 160-mile journey to the Isle of Wight off the south coast of England before heading to the Mediterranean and Croatian coast.
Captain, permission to come on the bridge?
Yes, permission granted, please.
Now look at this is really high tech, and yet you're the captain of a sailing ship which has got 5 masts and 42 sails. It's like a combination of the old and new, right?
Yes, it is. There's not only the sails what we need. We need the steering, we need the engine for the operation in the port. We need all this equipment to make the safe navigation of the seas.
By using the sails, how much fuel are you saving?
If we utilize the sails in the full power, then we are only using the generators to producing the energy what we need for the, let's say, cooking, lights and so. So it can be even up to 8 tons per day saving on the energy.
There are 136 cabins and suites over the ship's 4 decks. This won't be a cheap holiday, but what's on offer here is very different from one of your regular mass market traditional cruises. It's obvious that this is a very complex ship to operate, and making things run smoothly takes a lot of skill and teamwork.
The wonderful thing on a small ship, and especially on a sailing ship, is that when we have a lot of wind, when we have a storm, we all need to work together and rely on each other, because sometimes we also have to go up in the rig on these yards up there and furl in a sail if the semi-automatic system doesn't work. So that creates a lot of bonding, but the only thing that counts here is your skill.
So do you think this is the future?
This is true sustainability. And it's also time-proven sustainability, because sailing ships have been around for hundreds of years, and now we are coming back to something that we know already and develop it a little bit further.
Now I've got one more thing to try before I head back to land.
Just come here.
Yep. So here we go.
One leg.
Yep.
And that is to check out the view from the top.
So you're gonna climb. Okay, I'm gonna keep this tension.
Okay, step.
Stefan is all the way up.
And then step. And then step. Look ahead. And then step.
Oh, it's actually a lot higher than I thought.
All right, I'll be honest with you. It's scary. It also gets narrower. Okay.
And this is the worst bit for sure.
hold on to where? This?
This one and this one. This is also good to hold because it's not slippery.
And this? You might have to pull me.
Okay.
Oh, yes!
All right.
Victory!
You got it.
That, I'm going to be honest with you, that was a little bit frightening. Phew!
Well, the view was well worth it. This has been such a different experience to being on board a much bigger, more conventional, modern cruise ship. And it's really hard to compare the two experiences. Clearly, nobody is suggesting that sail power will take the place of engines throughout the entire cruise industry. But the Golden Horizon and ships like her will open up more sustainable options, and that could encourage more traditional cruise lines to up their game when it comes to things like emissions and waste, which hopefully could be a win for everyone.
Hello, and welcome to Kenya's Masai Mara, one of the best game reserves in the entire world, and for good reason. Local tourism authorities say nowhere else in Africa has wildlife this abundant. In 2020, when international tourism largely stopped, a lot of the high-end resorts had to come up with new ways to keep their rooms and their jeeps full.
There aren't many nature reserves on Earth quite as well known as Kenya's Masai Mara.
This is the final destination every July and August for all of the creatures involved in the Great Migration from the Serengeti Plains over the border in Tanzania.
There's around 1.5 million wildebeest alone, with large numbers of zebra and antelope species joining the journey.
Can we go closer to the elephant? We want many, yeah, that would be good. This is wild, guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 11 lions. This is wild. They're just looking at us like, what are you doing here? It's only 7:30. And is it your first time on safari?
Yes.
Yeah.
Ah, okay. And how do you feel being on your first safari?
Excited.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
We are more excited, and we are hoping to do this and this and again.
And so why did you come now and not before?
Just because of the high rates, and now we can afford the rates. That's why we are here.
Last year saw a huge push to attract more Kenyans to go on safari in their own country. Normally, this is an expensive trip, but prices have been dropped by almost half at some resorts. Other luxury hotels have been offering tantalizing package deals.
And this is one of those places. In pre-COVID times, a stay here would put you back a little bit. But during the pandemic, there was some special deals offered to local tourists, and they've been a big hit.
But some people are beginning to ask questions about the future.
Okay, one pineapple mint for you.
Santi
I
Sana.
spilled a little bit.
No worries.
What happens when borders reopen and the wealthy foreigners start returning? Harriet's a Kenyan travel writer, and she sees trouble ahead.
If the prices go high again, I think these hotels will not have learned their lessons. I think the COVID experience should have taught them a lesson in that they would have made fair prices. We don't need to use them when we are down and then dump them when the things are good. Mm-hmm. There are some who would have learned from the lessons, probably some who would have diversified, understood the Kenyan market, what they liked, even their social media pages. It will make a difference having a Kenyan or black people in there.
Changing times in Kenya, and let's hope that prices stay reasonable there so that local people can still enjoy amazing wildlife in their own backyard. Next up, we're off to Dubai, where, like everywhere else, social distancing and safety measures were still things to consider this year. So we sent Lucy out to explore the ways that you can enjoy the great outdoors without a mask.
This is Dubai Aquafun, the brainchild of a young Emirati entrepreneur called Ahmed Ben Chaibeh, who claims that it's the biggest inflatable water park in the world. Against the backdrop of hotels and skyscrapers and a short 25-metre swim from the beach, you'll find a course made up of over 70 floating blow-up slippery slides, swings and other obstacles, all designed to test your stamina, balance and bravery. And after a bit of undignified clamber on board, I'm ready to accept the challenge.
It's a little slipperier than you think.
Come on, Lucy.
Woo! Almost. I think I've been in the water. I was just about to say, I think I've been in the water enough. 0.5 seconds and I didn't even touch the obstacle. Here we go. Boo!
What was that?
That's what you got to look out for. You might complete the obstacle, but the slipping at the end, every time.
Something tells me I may have spoken too soon. I challenge anyone to get over this thing and stay dry.
I'm fit, yeah? I'm trying my hardest. But most importantly, this is so much fun.
3, 2, 1.
All right, here we go. Woo! I cleaned up the slide. I think I'm ready to get off now.
Well, now that I'm thoroughly soaked through, it's time to dry off, but I'm not heading back to the beach. Instead, perhaps it's time to feel the wind in my very wet hair.
How's this for a socially distanced experience?
These are the Dubai Hero Boats, your own personal speedboat that lets you cut through the warm waters of the Gulf at speeds of up to 50 kilometers an hour. After a short instructional and safety tutorial, you'll stick to a vast but designated course, accompanied by a guide who's on hand to ensure that you stick to the rules whilst getting a high-speed and unique view of the Dubai beaches and skyline.
As far as rides go, this one is awesome. It's super easy to drive and Brandon's nearby for safety, just in case. You know, yeah, you could go pretty slow, but the real fun begins when you crank up that engine and more importantly, you do it with no mask.
Well, there's no doubt that the star of our show in 2021 was a little blue electric van that we drove across the UK and Ireland to test out how practical it was to travel sustainably whilst rediscovering attractions closer to home. And wherever we went, the van was certainly turning heads and we all had an absolute ball.
This prototype is a reimagining of an old iconic Morris motor. It's the first vehicle built by the company since the 1980s and it's all electric.
Now the original Morris J-Type came out in 1948 alongside the classic Morris Minor, which was the first British car to reach 1 million sales. So what we've done is stuck some portable hand controls on the car so I can drive it with my hands. And because it's a van and there's plenty of room in there, we've just stuck my wheelchair in the back. And away we go on our UK road tour for the travel show.
There's more to the Cairngorms than just walks and wildlife. Adventure companies offer ziplining, canyoning and something called whitewater tubing, riding one of these rubber rings downriver. I was hoping to give it a go, but the conditions were a little wild.
So what was the issue about the tubing today then?
The river's too high, it's in flood, so it wouldn't be safe. We couldn't actually stop you. You might just keep going.
Where do the rapids end?
The North Sea.
Okay, yeah, that's an issue, isn't it?
Well, I might not be able to get out on the river, but Kevin insisted I have a go on one of their longest zip lines.
I am feeling a bit more nervous. I mean, I was like quite chilled out about this because I'm like, zip wire, everyone does this, you know, kids do it. And now, looking down into that gorge, my nether regions have got a little bit tighter. Put my
Two hands on top.
And then I'll go.
Yeah, when you lift your legs up, you should just head off out here.
I don't want to do it.
You're fine, you're fine.
All right, here we go. Oh. There she is, Scarbados, glinting in the sunshine.
Scarborough is the UK's oldest beach resort. This is where you come if you're looking for the proper old school seaside traditions.
You've got the ice cream parlours, you've got the slot machines, you've got the beach, the sea, the smell of fish and chips out the window.
After a week in Scotland, the electric van's still holding up well and getting a lot of love here on the South Bay.
How you doing, guys? You all right? Yes, really good, really good. We're travelling around Scarborough and Yorkshire. Take care.
Oh, it's you off telly?
How are ya?
I'm all right, you?
Yeah, good, good. We're filming for the travel show. You're actually on camera there. Look, come here, look. Say hello.
Hello.
If it's seaside traditions you're after, this is the place to be. The Harbour Bar's been in Scarborough for 75 years. These days, like all of us, it's doing its best to follow the COVID guidelines, with customers kept safely in the fresh air.
I'm looking for your biggest, most extravagant and spectacular ice cream. Yeah?
Make a bucket glory for you then.
Is that the one?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's flashy and tasty.
Yeah.
You know something's really good when you're sucking as hard as you can and you just can't get anything out. It's ridiculous.
The shop's been open since the end of the Second World War. Julian started working here when he was 12, and he's the third generation of his family to make and sell ice cream in Scarborough.
We've done 75 years, so we celebrated at the beginning of August.
Now, how confident are you about the future?
Oh, very confident, yeah. I think Scarborough will do well. Teresa and I have been talking about starting a family.
What's in these Knickerbocker glories? Is it something in these? Teresa, did you hear that?
I did, yes.
I think he said, I think Julian said twins.
I leave the city for the rolling hills of the Brecon Beacons, less than an hour's drive from Cardiff. The national park is home to over 1,000 farms largely dedicated to livestock. And with over 250,000 visitors a year, one particularly savvy farmer has developed an interesting business model, trekking with sheep.
He's checking me out. He's checking I'm all good.
His problem is he can't really see very well because his hair is so long. It's in his face.
Meet Patches, my new pal for the afternoon.
Do you want more food? I need to prove that I'm your friend. Oh, that feels really weird on my hand. You've got a very warm tongue there, Patches. Come on. Patches, you can have more food in a moment.
The plan is to follow a trail around the farm with my fluffy companion.
He's pretty obedient. Sometimes he kind of veers to the left or right, and I feel like I'm the one being walked.
It turns out to be trickier than it looks.
Come on, Patches. Come on. So, Nicola, since lockdown,
Yeah.
Have you seen demand for this experience growing?
Yeah, so a lot of people want to be outside in the open air. This experience, because we're able to be distanced, there isn't so much pressure on that, and people just enjoy being with the sheep and being able to stroke the sheep and actually being able to physically be around them, whereas normally they just see them in the fields and they run away. When we first opened, it was quite slow. We didn't really have that many people. I think people were a bit wary. They were a bit like, oh, really? Walking sheep? Never, not actually heard of that before. We started it because it was similar to alpaca trekking, but with sheep, it's more native. And we ourselves were used to looking after sheep, whereas alpacas were something a bit different and a bit scary.
Back on the road, I'm heading into Cork City. Here, old stereotypes of Ireland's conservative outlook are once again becoming outdated. A growing drag community has emerged in Cork. They've been through a difficult COVID period, and tonight will be the first public performance for some drag artists here since the pandemic began.
We're Ireland's first drag house, and we're now the biggest house. Other ones are springing up, and now there's this incredible scene where you see all these different styles of drag and performers, which we didn't have before.
Tell me about how the pandemic affected you and the whole scene here.
Specifically with queer people in the LGBT+ community, again, our spaces have been taken away, and for the likes of myself and the other queens, our work was taken away. Yeah, it's taught us a lot, and what I've loved personally seeing is how resourceful queer people are. I haven't seen some of my friends in 18 months all in the same room. I haven't seen a proper audience in so long, but I'm ready to not do drag in my bedroom anymore. I'm very excited to come back on stage.
Just some of the places we went to and some of the people we met, thanks to our little blue electric van, undoubtedly the star of our show in 2021. Well, that's all for us. Coming up next week on the programme, another new face. Steve Brown joins the show as he explores Japan and finds out what kind of effect hosting the Paralympics there has had for travellers with disabilities. So I do hope that you can join in for that. In the meantime, from me, Rajan Datar, and everybody else on the programme, stay healthy, happy and hopeful that 2022 will be the year that we can finally all start travelling again. We'll see you in the new year. Goodbye.